It's a slight named reality how economists loving bee, or at low, the concept of bee. The King Economical Community's logotype is a honey bee. The story of the bee, published in 1732, uses honeybees as a metaphor for the economics, and anticipates contemporary economical concepts such as the Department of Labor and the unseen brush, how tool, avarice is nice. And while a next victor of the Nobel Award in Economy, James Mead, was looking for an sample of a cunning concept in economical theoretical, he rotated to the honey bee for inspire. The cunning concept was which economists urge a favorable appearance, thing nice how a complementary marketplace win tea make quite of, importance how the by the government might wish to subsidize it. For James Mead, the ultimate sample of a favorable appearance was the relation among apples and bee. But the poem farmers wouldn't delight how gain, how favorable appearance, and so they wouldn't factory as lot poem trees as would be top for everyone. The was, on to Mead, proper just and exclusively to the reality how the poem farm cannot accusation the honey bee keeper for the bee meal. But down there's a issue in his dissertation. Poem flower produces nearly no medicine. And how's just the at first item James Mead didn't aware on bee. To know Mead's more than basic mistake, we requirement a short story of humans and honeybees. One day on a period, down there was no honeybee keeping, just med hunt, hard to rob honeycombs of savage bee. We see the represented in cavern pictorial. Later, at low 5,000 year back, the experience was formalized. The Greeks, the Egyptians and the Romans were all fractional to tamed medicine. By the medium ages, honeybee keepers were with skep urticaria. They are the classical fabric beehives how see love a conical stack of stubble used tires. But the anxiety in skep urticaria is how if you wish the med, you requirement to get rid of the bee, and honeybee keepers would usually venom them in sulfurous fume, tremble them away, shovel out the med, and worry about on house else bee settlement in due year. In period, although, human beings begun to worry about on the waste management and contempt for a creation how not just gives us med but as well pollinates our seedling. In the 1830s, a honeybee rights motion founded in the U.S., in the slogan, "Never murder a honeybee." The Langstroth beehive is a wood box in and discovery at the top and frames how hover downward, thoroughly separate of every sum by the sorcery gap of 8 mm, honeybee area, any less or greater and the bee begin addition their own uncomfortable structures. The tsarina is at the lower, restricted by a tsarina excluder, a cell how prevents her accession but permits employee bee via. The keeps her bee juvenile out of the honeycombs. The honeycombs are readily stretched out and collected by a rotating centrifugal how flings of, filters and collects the medicine. A wonder of style and effectiveness, the new beehive permitted the industrialization of the honeybee. And it's the industrialization how James Mead hadn't rather captured. The honeybee is a carefully tamed pet. In Langstroth urticaria, bee are laptop. Anything stops farmers upcoming to several finance location in honeybee keepers to place urticaria among their cereal. A pair of many decades following James Mead's renowned sample, else political economist, Stephen Chung, became interesting on it, and he did thing we economists maybe don't do frequently quite, he named up several actual human beings and requested them which in fact happens. He found how poem farmers regularly pay honeybee keepers for the facility of pollinating their cereal. For some cereal, the honeybee keepers do really pay farmers for the order to harvesting their honeydew, the marketplace Mead told should already exist but could no. One sample is peppermint, that doesn't requirement any assist of bee but that produces nice medicine. So apples and bee aren't a nice sample of a favorable appearance, since the cooperation does get location in a market. And how market is enormous. Langstroth urticaria are correctly attached along, laden onto the behind of articulated freight transport, 400 urticaria per lorry, and managed to the Californian macaroon groves every springtime, traveling by overnight time the bee are sleeping. The numbers are remarkable, 85% of the 2 millionth business urticaria in the U.S. are excited, comprising tens of billions of bee. as B. Wilson describes in The Beehive, The History of the Honey Bee and Us. The big U.S. honeybee keepers supervise 10,000 urticaria every N of California. They may journey up to Washington country's cerise orchards, later east to the sunflowers of Polar and southward Dakota, and later on to the gourd fields of Pennsylvania or the blueberries of Maine. Mead was rather incorrect to think bee as several type of village idol. Bee include been nearly completely industrialized, and fertilization carefully commercialized. And how presents a puzzle. Ecologists are concerned on savage bee populations, that are in abrupt decrease in lot components of the planet. No rather knows reason. Candidates for accuse involve parasites, pesticides, and the mystery settlement crash disturbance, wherever bee just vanish, outgoing a lonely tsarina over. Tamed bee person the identical pressures, so you might wait to see several easy economy at job, a reducing in the delivery of bee, growing the cost of fertilization services. But how's not which economists see at all. Settlement crash disturbance appears to include had minimum impact on any pragmatic metrical in the bee marketplace. Farmers are profitable lot the identical for fertilization, and the cost of new queens, that are specifically brought up, has barely budged. It appears how industry honeybee keepers include controlled to evolve strategies for supporting the populations on that they trust, cultivation and trade queens, split colonies, and purchase booster packs of bee. How is why down there is no lack of med, or almonds, or apples, or blueberries, not still, in any case. Should we commemorate economical incentives for preservation at low several populations of bee? So, perhaps. Else prospect is how it's exactly the contemporary economics' long time driving to monitoring and monetize the nature planet how inflicted the issue in the at first location. Up monocrop farming modified ecosystems, down there was no requirement to lug Langstroth urticaria about the rural area to fertilize cereal, regional populations of savage insects did the job complementary of accusation. So if we wish an sample of a favorable appearance, thing the complementary marketplace win tea ensure as lot of as community would love, maybe we should see to earth uses how assist savage bee and some insects. Wildflower water meadows, maybe, and several governments are really subsidizing these, fair as James Mead would include informed.